So my wife has got a bit of a bubble tea addiction. I don't know if this is helping. G'day guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Sam's Home Kitchen, where I bring to you budget-friendly recipes with sustainability in mind. So today's video has got a bit of a backstory. So in October last year, I took my wife back to Taiwan, and one of the biggest highlights for her was bubble teas. So being the founding country, the origin country of bubble teas, we had thousands and thousands of shops with hundreds of different brands. We could not end a day without having at least one bubble tea. So now we're back in Australia. The prices of bubble teas are 2, 3, 4 times. Coming from that experience with such good bubble tea with a really affordable price, it just makes a little sense for us to splurge out and buy bubble tea here. It just feels so different. So I'm going to try to recreate that experience right here in my home kitchen and share that with you guys. And you can be assured that I'm going to make the recipe as easy to follow and save you as much money as possible. So right behind me, we've got our list of ingredients that we need today. Obviously we need some tea and milk to make our, that's right, milk tea. And one of the very key ingredients is brown sugar. So this is less refined compared to your typical white sugar, and it's an absolute key to make the flavor more sophisticated. And last but not the least, our pearls or our boba, we're going to make that from scratch. And the main ingredients of that is tapioca starch. Obviously there are pre-made bobas that you can buy from the shops, but that's not the point of this channel, right? I'm going to teach you how to make things from scratch and save as much as possible. So in total, we're going to need 100 grams of tapioca starch. We're going to break it down by half. So we're going to measure out 50 grams of tapioca starch.
Tapioca starch is made from this root vegetable called cassava. It's the key ingredients to make boba.
So this 50 gram we're going to set aside, and the other 50 grams we will load it up in the pot we're cooking with. And then in here, we'll add in 50 grams of water. And then 40 grams of our brown sugar.
Brown sugar is less refined compared to white sugar. As a result, brings a good amount of flavor complexity.
Now the ingredients all in, bring it over to the stove and start cooking the starch.
Heat on medium to low and be sure to stir it constantly. Tapioca starch will gelatinize up really quickly at the bottom of the pan if left unattended. We'll keep the heat on low, and in a couple of minutes, it will start thickening up like this.
So once you stir it until it just becomes impossible to stir, and then the starch becomes a really gooey and sticky texture, you kind of just give up and you have to move on to the next step.
So next step, we mix in the other 50 grams of tapioca starch we prepared earlier. Wait for the cooked tapioca to cool down to a workable temperature and start mixing. It will seem pretty impossible that at this stage the cooked and raw starch, they'll just never going to mix. You can add in a small amount of water to assist. Just do it little by little until all comes together to form into a dough.
Thicken a little bit, but now we've got most of it out. We'll transfer it onto the bench and then knead it into a starch bowl.
Knead it with some love, passion, and combine with some elbow grease. Your dough ball will slowly come together and be consistent in texture. So in the end, we should be left with a very workable dough like this. The texture is so interesting, but this is the source of our bobas. Next step, we are rolling out the dough to turn it into little bobas. Sprinkle on some starch to reduce the stickiness. Coat it through on both sides and start flattening it with a rolling pin.
As we're rolling it out, we just want to roll it into about a ½ centimeter thickness. And now next step, we're going to cut it into strips. And then at this point, you are probably thinking that Sam is just bullcrapping you because these look nothing like our boba. But trusting the process, my friends, I will not disappoint you.
Given a quick pause here, I completely forgot a technique here to reach a better consistency. Before cutting them into little cubes, you are better off to roll each strip up into little cylinders before cutting. But anyway, next minute or so, just watch me fumble my way through because these are all different sizes, so enjoy watching me suffer. Nothing too tricky here. Use your 2 palms and roll each cubes of dough into dough balls. Repeat that about a few dozen times and we will have our bobas all made. A little hideous here, but trust me, the result is way worth it.
While we're rolling the bobas, this is a good timing to get a pot of water on as well, because once these are rolled up, we are going to boil them and cook them. So now our bobas are all rolled up. We're going to pop them in here and then we'll bring it over to the stove and get them cooked.
Bobas into a pot of boiling water. Give it a quick stir so they don't instantly stick together. Bring it up to simmer and leave it bubbling away for about 20 minutes. Every 5 minutes or so, give it a stir just for sanity's sake. At about 20 minutes mark, lid on, turn the heat off and let it sit for about 20 minutes.
Okay, to complete and finish our boba, we're going to make sure it's well seasoned and well flavored. So we're going to make a syrup with 1 part brown sugar and 1 part water, and then just infuse the flavor right back into the boba. So we'll do 100 grams of brown sugar and then 100 grams of water.
Pot on stove on low heat. While it's heating up, my bobas have been resting for 20 minutes. Drain it and rinse our bobas off with some fresh cold water. We're washing off the starchy water and at the same time chilling the bobas to get a chewier texture. Come back to the syrup. Stir it until the sugars are all dissolved. Our washed bobas in. This step is crucial to ensure that we have some very flavorful boba while infusing the brown sugar flavor into our little starch balls. On low heat and simmer until your syrup is reduced to this consistency. We can then turn the heat off and let it sit for at least 30 minutes to soak up all of the flavor. So with a lot of recipes I found, so many of them suggest to infuse the tea flavor by soaking tea bags in warm or hot milk. With my barista background, from experience, tea will be way more soluble in water than milk, given milk is already saturated with various elements and fat. So here, we're making a tea concentrate by brewing 4 tea bags with 200 grams of boiling water. Steep for about 2 minutes and we are all good to assemble it all together. Good amount of bobas at the bottom. Ice cube in. Milk on top. In with our tea concentrate. How good does that look? The cost breakdown is round the screen here. This recipe will make us 3 to 4 cups of bubble tea. Each cup of bubble tea will come to 69.6 cents to make. That's literally 10% of a sticker price.
Alright, and there we have it. That is our bubble tea or pearl milk tea or whatever we want to call it. The goodness of the goodness all done right here. Going to dig in and just let you know how it tastes like. Are you kidding me? That is so bloody good. On a hot day like this, that is a liquid dessert. The homemade boba just got a really nice chew to it. That is not something that you can actually get. I've not tasted anything like that before. It's times and times better than what you can get from bubble tea shops. I mean, just put it simply, you are drinking real milk rather than milk powder or anything that's artificial. So that right there, I consider it such a big win. I'd really recommend you to give it a go. This is a bloody win. It's so good. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and consider subscribing. I have a budget-friendly recipe coming out every 2 weeks. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next one.